Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Happy Sunday. It is currently about 20 after 4, like 4:30 or something like that. Oh, actually, I have my phone right here. I can look and see. It is 4:23 on Sunday afternoon. Let's see what the temperature is. It's supposed to be like 60 today or something. Oh, it's 63 degrees right now, and it says it's mostly cloudy. Feels like 61. I think we're supposed to get some rain tonight. It says rain possible after 7 p.m. Tomorrow, let's see what the weather is going to be like. 75, cloudy early with partial sunshine expected late. Hopefully it is sunny enough to be able to see the total eclipse of the heart tomorrow, because so many people are in town for the eclipse. I have to tell you, we just got back from brunch a little while ago. I actually just filmed a Peter Does Stuff video where I showed all the stuff that I ordered from Abercrombie because it came today in the mail, and I wanted to start wearing it, and then I opened it, and most of it is like really, really big. It looks like it's gonna be too big for me. And so, which is interesting because usually when I buy things, they're like too small. So this like buying things and then having them arrive and look like they're going to be too big is like something I'm not used to. I'm still not getting used to that yet, or I'm still getting used to that. But I went inside after I did the video and I said to Alex, I said, what size is your Abercrombie sweatshirt? Because I got extra large, because I thought he said that he had bought extra large. And actually, this shirt that I have on is from Abercrombie, and it's an extra large. And he said, my hoodies are extra large, because I bought mostly hoodies. And I said, okay. I said, did they shrink, like in the wash? And he was like, I don't think they shrank a lot. Why? And I said, but they fit you, because like they fit him good. Like not like super tight, but like not super loose either. And I said, did they shrink in the wash? And he goes, no, not a lot, I don't think. And I said, well, I hope they shrink a little bit. And he goes, why? And I said, because they're just like, they look super big on me. Well, Alex loves this stuff baggy. So he goes, well, if they don't fit you, you can just give them to me. I was like, okay. But anyway, we just got back from brunch, and usually, so we go to Cafe Pas de Choux usually between like 2 and 3 on Sundays if we go. And it's usually pretty dead. It's like us and maybe like 1 or 2 other tables. I mean, it's like never that busy when we go there that late in the day. Usually it's either really, really busy like after church time, or around noon is when Cafe Pas de Choux and the other brunch places are busy. Cafe Pas de Choux stays open until 3. Most of the other brunch places around this area close at 2 o'clock, so they're open for an extra hour. So we walk in there and it's packed. I mean, it's like jam-packed. I couldn't believe it. And they only had 2 little tables left, and I was really surprised. And so we were talking to our friends that are the servers in there and stuff, and they said, I said, it's so busy, and they're like, well, it's because of the eclipse. And I keep on hearing this from people. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday on the phone, and I was talking to my friend Tanya Jean last night. My friend Tanya Jean, like y'all don't know who she is. I was talking to Tanya Jean on the phone yesterday, and I said something to her about like people coming into town, and she's like, have you not seen like the parking lots of hotels? I'm like, Tanya, I don't go anywhere, you know? And she was like, it's packed. And she was telling me about like some family of hers that were driving up from like Georgia, and they like got stuck in 14 hours of traffic, and everybody that like when they were stopping was saying that they were like driving up to see the eclipse. Apparently there's like, Tia tagged me in something, and this like TikTok or whatever that said that there was like 10 states that you can see it in, and what states you can see it in partial. Apparently Indianapolis, like, and where, like right where I am is like directly in the line. So like where we live is like supposed to be like perfect sighting for the total eclipse or something. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm going to get my coffee at Cafe Pas de Choux. Blueberry crumble today, by the way, which is so funny because I had blueberry yesterday. They haven't had blueberry crumble there in a while, I don't think. So I'm standing up there, and there's like this woman in front of me. Alex and I are getting our coffee, and there was this woman in front of me, and I'm like, she looks so familiar to me. And she like turns to her side, and I'm like, oh. And it was this girl that I was friends with. Like, we started talking. She's like, no, our moms were friends before we were in kindergarten. We were friends, kindergarten, elementary. She was part of that group that I was friends with. And she was one of my really, really dear friends. I mean, we went to kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college. She was actually telling me, she was like, because she lived on the street behind me. And she was like, and so the guy that lived, so it was my house, and then there was like a creek and woods, this big dense woods, and then there was the other street behind there, And so his backyard was the woods as well, and we were friends as well because he had older brothers and stuff, but he was in like my kindergarten class and stuff. So when we were like in kindergarten and first grade, his mom and my mom played tennis, and so we were kind of friendly that way. He is like, it's so funny because I was thinking about this today when I was talking to her, because he lives kind of like, because she brought him up and she was like, yeah, I used to remember, don't you remember like when we were like 5 before like kindergarten, I would like ride my bike over to his house and then I would park my bike. It was kind of like a known thing that I could park my bike in his driveway and then I would just walk through the woods to your house. I was like, I kind of vaguely remember that. And she was like, yeah, and then we would come over there and then you'd like come over to our house and we go to the pool and stuff like that. And so anyway, she was super talkative. It was really fun. But anyway, so she and her husband live in Chicago, and I said, are you down here visiting your mom and stuff? She's like, no, we came for the eclipse. She's like, well, we are visiting my mom. We're staying with her, but she said, we're down here for the eclipse. And she's like, you know, I'm like super nerdy about this stuff. She always has been. She's always been all this kind of stuff. She was really cool. Like we're all friends. And it was funny because she was like one of the major like high school DJs. And we were talking about, I said, I remember like when, you know, you would like call me up like when you were DJing on like Friday nights and you'd say like, what songs should I play that are real like new and edgy? She's like, you always knew like all like the edgy music and stuff, which is so funny. And I said something about, I remember your senior show, like because their senior show was like, they would do like 2-hour set and it was like all their favorite music. And she was like, you were like a huge contributor to that. Do you not remember? She's like, most of my DJ set was like, I mean, it wasn't like DJs like today, it was like, you know, radio station DJs. But she was like, most of my DJ set was like all music that you had loaned me. And she was like Blue Monday from New Order and Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed we were talking about, and she was like Susie and the Banshees. I mean, we were talking about all this music. She was like, you were like major I totally forgot about that. But anyway, it's really interesting when I look at like my group of like girlfriends that I had like in high school, and she was part of that group, but she had other friends too, but she and I would do things socially together sometimes in high school. All of my friends, well, I can't even really say, like, I mean, I didn't have tons of friends, but like, you know, the 5 or 6 girls that I hung around with in high school, and she was one of those, they're all doing like really interesting things. Like, I can't say what she does because it's so unique that like, and she's pretty like, you know, anonymous, and she's not sober, but no, I don't mean like that, but she's like pretty like anonymous, doesn't want to, you know, whatever. But if I said what she did, like, it would be so easy to look up and find out. Most of my friends that I went to high school with, a couple of my 2 friends that were twins, like, they got unbelievable grades. And one of them is this, like, some teacher for some kind of, like, really, exclusive kind of, like, educational school. It's, like, Montessori, but not. And then her other sister is actually a naturopathic physician. And they both live, like, out west. Like, one of them lives in Washington and the other one lives in Oregon. And then my other friend who lives in Oregon, she is like really artistic stuff, movies and things like that. All of my friends went on to like do really kind of like crazy stuff, and I was like talking to her and I said something about, I can't remember what I said. I said something about like that group, that small group of us that just kind of like leaned on each other to get through high school, you know, and we were listening to like all the different music and, you know, drawing cartoons and reading like all his, you know, these books and thrift store shopping. And that was just kind of like our group, and we were so different and stuff. Like, everybody went on to go like do all this kind of stuff. And I made some kind of joke and I said, yeah, like, I'm like the one that's just like sitting around. Everybody else went on to like go do these like huge things. And she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, we all talk about you. And I was like, what do you mean you all talk about me? And she's like, you have like the coolest life. Like, you film all these videos, and she was like, you're constantly like, you know, talking about this or reading this book, or you have these, she's like, you have 2 book clubs. I was like, and you know, that's where I was like, did this video the other day on my Peterson's channel where I talked about like kind of like step into like what you love the most. And it's like, you know, where I sit, I feel like the outside looking in, my life probably seems pretty boring to most people, you know, but, you know, I love my life. Like, I it's only when, you know, it's like that friend of mine that said years ago, you know, you always lose by comparison when you compare yourself to other people. And we were standing there, like, at the end, she was like talking to Alex and stuff, and I talked to her husband, and So she was like, you guys just got back from, you know, Miami and you went to this music festival. And she was like, what are you doing tomorrow? You guys doing something really cool for the eclipse? And I was like, no, I'm like going to go hang out with my neighbors. She's like, I wish I had neighbors that I could like hang out with. I mean, I don't ever think about stuff from like that point of view. You know, you always think about it from somebody else's point of view, that they're doing this and they're doing that. And she even said, she's like, you guys have such a cool life. She was like, I love that you just like, you know, you make your own schedule and get up whenever you want and all this kind of stuff. She's like, I had to like reschedule 4 meetings just so we could come down here. I was like, yeah, I don't miss that. Like, I don't miss that at all, you know? And I was like, I walked away and I was like, she has a really cool life, but she doesn't have the life that I would want. You know what I mean? Like, her life is so fitting for her and she's doing such really cool things, and all my friends are that I was in high school with. But you know, I look back, it was funny because I was like looking back on the people that I did surround myself with when I was in high school, my friends that I was like really close with, my girlfriends that had my back and really got me through things. I mean, we were having like, I mean, we partied a lot and stuff, you know, but we were having like really important conversations about important things, and we were, you know, and not just like punk music, but we were listening to all different kinds of music, you know, classic rock and, you know, yes, punk, but, you know, even some like old country. I can remember we used to all listen to like Patsy Cline and stuff like that, and you know, my one friend's boyfriend loved heavy metal, and so we listened to some of that. You know, we were listening to like all different kinds of music. I can remember like on a Saturday we would go to the art museum, you know, and then we'd go to lunch somewhere and go thrift store shopping, and it was like, I feel like those years really built like this foundation kind of like for me, being interested in all different kinds of things, you know, as I got older. I don't know, it was really fun. So we stood there forever when we talked, but she was like telling me that it was so funny because Alex is a little bit more interested in the eclipse than I am. I was like really interested in it at first, but in all honesty, I thought it was just like, oh, you put some glasses on or you look through a box or whatever and you go outside, you know? And she was telling me, she's like, yeah, so like earlier today there was another eclipse. And I'm like, do we miss the eclipse? And she's like, well, Venus went, I don't even know what she said, so I can probably get this completely wrong, but she was like, Venus went behind the moon and blah, blah, whatever. And so she and her husband like came down here because the Speedway, the track, is doing this thing that Purdue University, which is like a huge like, you know, science and engineering college, they're putting on. And you like bring your chairs out there and they give you like a box lunch, and then they do like these educational classes about it. And she's like, yeah, I brought games and stuff in case it gets boring. She's like, it's like 4 hours long or whatever. And I was like, there's no way. She was so excited about it. I was so excited for her, you know. But like, so we were talking to our friends that are the servers there, and I was like, have you guys been busy today all day? She's like, our two friends that are servers in there, they were both like, everybody that's been in here is in town visiting for the eclipse. Like, literally everybody. And they're like, we'll be here tomorrow too for lunch before we go to see the eclipse. And like all my friends, like I went through Facebook yesterday and they're all like saying, like putting up that you can like come to their yard, like they have a great place to view the eclipse from, and you can come to and bring your like own beer or whatever. Like nobody's working tomorrow, schools are closed, government offices are closed. But then it's kind of freaky because there's like all these like Tanya was talking about this yesterday. She's like, I think these emergency warnings are like a lot. She's like, I don't know about all that stuff, but there's like all these emergency warnings, and a lot of them are because of just like traffic, and they don't want people to like be stuck. They don't know what the traffic's going to look like afterwards getting out of the city, and so they're like, you really need to fill up your gas tank and stuff like that and have like water in your car and things like that, which that totally makes sense, right? But then there's like all these like emergency I was asking my therapist the other day about it, like if he was working on Monday. He was like, no, they shut down my office. He was like, they shut down like all the offices in that area, like nobody can work on Monday. And I'm like, this is so weird, right? And then tomorrow night there's also supposed to be this it's called like the Devil's Comet or something like that. So I don't know about all of it. I just know I'm going to go down to the pool with my neighbors, and I've got my glasses and stuff like that. I'm kind of excited about it, but you know, it'd be like what, a half an hour or something like that. But like all these places in Indianapolis, like every place, every park, every center, like the downtown on top of buildings, everything is having these things. But then there was these huge warnings that are put out, and then people keep on sending me all these things as I talk about it. They keep on sending me all these things that are like, it's the end of the world and the apocalypse and things that the Bible said. And to be honest with you, it didn't really start freaking me out until last night. This is so silly. But last night, I started, well, I'll get to what I was watching before, but I started watching Night of the Comet. I got halfway through it. I was going to watch it tonight, but I was like, no, I was like still wide awake, and so I was like, I'm going to start watching it tonight. So I started watching Night of the Comet. So for those of you that don't know, on my Peter Does Stuff channel, I'm picking a movie every Friday. I'm announcing it. It's going to be like a movie that we're going to watch over the weekend, and it's free on Tubi. So Tubi is a free streaming service. It's actually going international. I think in the next 2 months, I think is what it said, 2 or 3 months, they're taking it international. So everybody, no matter where you live, can watch these movies. We can all watch them together. And it was so funny because I was talking about, somebody was like, is it free? And I like looked it up, and you can't even buy like a package to get rid of ads. The way they get around it is that every show has ads in it. But the crazy thing is, I pay for Hulu, and Hulu, I don't pay for like the premium service. Hulu has more ads in it. I think it's Hulu. Hulu or Peacock or one of those has more ads in it than Tubi does. Like, I'm halfway through Night of the Comet, and there's been like 2 ads in it. That's it. That's how they get around it being a free streaming service. They have like live TV. They have tons of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Actually, on there right now, they have that TV show, Next Level Chef, that has Jaclyn Hill's husband in it, Jordan Torrey, because it showed an ad for it last night. So you can like go over there. Like, they have new shows over there. So somebody on Facebook put, Tubi's going $12.99, I'm out, or something like that. It was like I don't even know how I know this person. And I was like, so I started Google searching it. And they're like, no, we're not charging. So it's not, whatever you hear, that's not true. They're not charging for it. Like, as of like March, they just came out and said, we're not charging for any services. So I don't know why people are saying that. Apparently it was a rumor last year, and they were saying they were going to charge people $9.99 for it and stuff. So I started watching Night of the Comet. So if you don't know what Night of the Comet is about, Night of the Comet is about like, I don't know if it's just a comet or if it's Halley's Comet or whatever, but it comes and like everybody's like looking at it and they all turn to dust. And there's these people, and if you like were inside, I think it was steel or metal or something at the steel, I think, at the time that it came over, then you survived. So it's like these 2 sisters and then this guy, this Hector guy, and they're like on the run, and then like all these people turn into zombies. They're like half dead and whatever. It's so bad, but I have to tell you, it's kind of freaky. The part where they're all looking up at the sky, and they're like, oh, and I was like, oh my god, that's gonna be us on Monday. Like, what if, like, the whole world just zaps away, and we're all, like, gone, like, that's, you know, in this, like, I don't know, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. In all honesty, I was kind of like, there's all these warnings, people are saying it's the end of the world, people are saying earthquakes are gonna happen afterwards, and what was I reading today? Something about, oh, somebody commented and said something about cicadas, that cicadas come, like, in droves, like, after a total eclipse. But this is the thing, like, I read this thing, apparently the line that it's on right now, it only happens like every 400 years, but apparently there's like a total eclipse like every 10 years or something like that somewhere in the world. So it's not like this is like this huge phenomenon, and I think that's why people are kind of freaking out a little bit. It's like, why, like, I think there's been like, I read like either 4 in the last 11 years or 11 in the last 4 years or 40 years or something like that. And people are like, the government's never freaked out about it before. Why is the government freaking out about it this year? Do they know something? And so I'm like, oh, this is so weird. Especially having just got done watching that series on Netflix called Files of the Unexplained. Okay, so I watched this yesterday. Since I don't have a channel where I do reviews of TV shows, I actually was thinking, I was like, you know what would be a good channel? I was thinking about starting this yesterday. Is to call it like Peter Binges, or just binge, and then just when new shows are like trending on Netflix, to watch it and then just do a review of whatever binging show. Wouldn't that be like a good channel? I guess I could add that to my reality TV channel. But anyway, so maybe I will. Maybe I'll do an announcement over there and see what people think. What do you think about that? Should I add that to my reality TV channel and change my reality TV channel name? I wouldn't even have to change it, would I? I think Peter's reality TV recaps and opinions is kind of long. I think I need to change that. Peter watches TV. I think that's what I'm going to change it to. What do you think? That's pretty easy. And then I could just do that as a series on their binge, you know? But anyway, because I binge watch all these series. So the thing about this is, first of all, they're all like 30 to 40 minutes long. They're not super long. The first one that was about the guys in 1973 that saw the UFOs, that one was really interesting. The one that was about the government and UFOs, that one was really interesting. They all have kind of either an element of UFOs or paranormal to it, but then like, they're all just like really, they kind of like take this story that's paranormal and they kind of disprove it, and then it's just really sad. So like there's this place they say is the most haunted house. I can't remember what it's called now. It starts with an M, I think. The most haunted house in the country, in the United States, but it was a plantation house. And so they go in and they talk about how they just go in to talk about the history of the plantation and basically how they manipulated the story to fit the times. But then people are like, okay, like, and then there's a lot of like people coming out and saying that you shouldn't go here and visit it, which I think is like, I think that's a weird vibe anyway when people like, I don't know, go into those bed and breakfasts that used to be plantation houses. I think that's weird anyway. I wouldn't do that, but that's just my 2 cents about that. So that was like, then it goes into the whole history of this house and like who lived there and all this kind of stuff, and it kind of gets away from the paranormal. Then the very last one that I watched, well, then there's this one about Lake Lanier in Georgia, which apparently gets a lot of like social media stuff, like TikTok and whatever. I'd never heard of it, where people are like pulled over and drowned. But the reality is the majority of the people that drown at this Lake Lanier are people that are like drunk and not wearing life vests. So there's not like really any truth to it. They have like one girl that's like, oh no, I was pulled under the water. I'm not sure I buy it. But then they go in and they talk about how there was this town, and I think it was called Oscarville, and the town was like the majority was African American people that lived there and like thrived there, and there were also like white people that lived there and they were able to like live together, and it was like one of the first communities in the South like that. And then this woman accused these black men of assaulting her, and so they basically said to the African-American people, like, you need to get out, like, you need to leave, right? And so they left, and like and they told them they had to swim across this river, and a lot of people died, a lot of people lost families, they lost their homes. It was horrific, right? And so then when they made this reservoir, this Lake Lanier, they flooded over this town that no longer existed, this Oscarville. And so a lot of people were saying that it was like, you know, kind of like karmic revenge, that these people were being hurt by like the spirits of the people that were left behind. It was interesting from a historical point of view. And then they also talked about like the Trail of Tears and death and Native American people being pushed off their land. That was very interesting as well. They talked about that actually in a couple different the episodes. And then the last one was about these feet. I'd never heard of this before. Most of these stories I'd never heard of before. But it was about these feet, and it was someplace in Washington, some lake that I'd never heard of, Lake Shiraka, or I don't know, lake something. And like over the period of like 10 years, like 20 to 30, I think it was like 21, pairs of shoes with feet had washed up on shore. It's so bizarre. And so they were trying to figure out if it was like a sea monster. This is where it's like, it always starts off with this. Like, it was a sea monster, possibly. And this woman, she saw it, but then she said she wasn't sure if she saw it. But then it was that, something about the water, people decompose quicker in the water. And so it would make sense that, like, because there was no, like, ligature marks where their, like, feet were cut off. They thought maybe it was a serial killer, and they're like, no. What was happening was people were just dying, you know, either by taking their lives or they like fell off a boat or drowning or whatever, and then their bodies decomposed, and then all that was left were the shoes, and then the shoes were washing up on shore. But then it went into this thing about this mom, and her son was like an addict, and he had gone to jail or prison, and then he had gotten out, and then he went to go stay with a friend, and then the friend said he like stabbed him, and then they found his shoe like a year later or something, and he supposedly been killed by somebody. They didn't know. It was real sad. It was like, that's how each one of these episodes was. The first one was so good because it was like the same story from beginning to end. All of the other ones, like there was this one about Mount Shasta that I really, to be honest with you, couldn't even follow. And they didn't even like, it would like throw out different I mean, it's a half an hour, and they would throw out all these different speculations. Like they even threw out that, about that Amy Carlson that was Mother God. They even talked about that for like 5 or 10 minutes of the show. Like because she lived here, like why are we talking about it? So most of them were like, the first one was really, really good. The one that was about the government cover-up of the UFOs was interesting because the guy couldn't get his medical records. And it was interesting to see how, and it also had this aerospace engineer that was also a fighter jet pilot, and he was sharing his story. So that was really interesting. But other than that, they were kind of like all over the place. It was kind of hard to follow. I'm really surprised it's #1 right now trending on Netflix, because I thought it was kind of hard to follow. So I had those 4 episodes, watched those last night, and then I started watching Night of the Comet, and then I went to bed. What did we watch last night? Oh, we watched RuPaul's Drag Race and Untucked, and we got caught up. And yeah, so... And then I went to bed last night. Alex and Boo Radley went to bed right after we watched RuPaul's Drag Race. They were like in bed asleep at like 11:30. Boo Radley came wandering downstairs about like 2:30, like wanted to go out. So he was like trotting, like wanting to go outside. So I took him outside and whatever. But yeah, that was last night. I don't know that I would recommend that. Files of the Unexplained. You know, usually when I watch something, I'm like, oh my god, it's fantastic. I thought it was boring. I thought it was kind of like a dumbed down version of Unsolved Mysteries, which, by the way, they even reference it on there, the Unsolved Mysteries. They talk about these 2 guys, their dad, oh, that was one of them, these blobs that fell out of the sky from Washington. Oh, the other one that was interesting was the 5 guys that went missing in Washington. A lot of stuff happens in Washington State. That one was interesting. But they always like kind of like by the end of it, they've explained away like what it was, except for the first UFO one. But then there were these blobs that fell out from the sky. That was weird. And they actually showed that on Unsolved Mysteries, because they showed like the dad had passed away, but the 2 sons, like they interviewed them, and their dad had been on Unsolved Mysteries, and like at the last minute when he was getting ready to solve it, like these 2 guys in the black suits is what they call them, like came in and like took the sample away. So I don't know, it was always that. It was always like there was some conspiracy, but it seemed kind of like a dumbed down version of Unsolved Mysteries. Oh, that's what I was gonna say, which by the way, I looked up and it has been renewed for a 4th season, which is coming out later this year with new episodes, so I'm excited about that. But I was kind of, I don't know, it was just kind of like, it was okay. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 4. I would definitely not watch it again. And if I knew what... Somebody is like, I can smell a cigarette. Like somebody is like smoking. Like, nobody around my neighborhood smokes. Maybe it's somebody walking down the street and I can smell it. I mean, it literally just like wafted right into my face. Oh, I know who it is. My neighbor across the street, they're getting their kitchen done. And she said something about... We were talking earlier. I said, he keeps on taking phone calls in his car. And she's like, oh no, he smokes cigarettes in his car. And whatever, that's who it is across the street. I was like, oh. Because I wonder why he kept on like getting in his car. And I was like, why doesn't he just stand out here on the street? And she's like, well, he doesn't want to like bother other people. I was like, who's going to be bothered by him out in the middle of the street? I guess some people would, I don't know. But anyway, the guys that are doing, we're actually going to have them maybe like give us an estimate on some stuff in our house, because they are so good. And she was showing me like her kitchen counter and everything that she got done. She's so excited about it. But they're supposed to be done like on Monday, she said Monday, Tuesday at the latest. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know that I would watch that again. I definitely wouldn't watch it again. I would maybe watch certain episodes. Like I would recommend certain episodes to people. I was saying something to Tanya about it, and Tanya was like, oh, I'm not really into, like, she's not into UFO stuff at all. What did I actually... So on my list of shows that I want to keep watching, I'm going to find a new show tonight to watch. So weekly TV is RuPaul's Drag Race, Vanderpump Rules, The Valley, Survivor, The Amazing Race, Loot, and Vanderpump Villa. And then probably American Horror Story I'll be adding to that delicate. And then I wanted to start watching Elsbeth. I thought there were like 4 or 5 episodes out. Somebody said they commented and said they had watched like the first 3 episodes. I can only find the first episode. And then it said it was coming back April 4th or 5th. So then that means there will only be 2 episodes out. But I don't know. Nobody's like really saying that they loved it so much. Then Palm Royale. I think the 5th episode came out. I'm waiting for, let's see how many episodes are out. Sugar, what's that? Some Men Are a Mystery. Watch the series premiere on Apple TV. I don't know anything about that. Oh, it's #1 right now. Sugar, is anybody watching that? 3 episodes. Oh no, 2 episodes are out already. It's just gonna stop. It's just like, okay. An enigmatic private detective struggles with personal demons as he investigates The disappearances of a Hollywood producer's beloved granddaughter. Oh, that sounds good. Sounds like something Mel would like, actually. And then Palm Royale. How many episodes are out already? The 6th episode comes this Wednesday. Loot, I'm already watching that. Manhunt, somebody told me they thought that was really good. I just looked at the camera and I go, oh, I know what I was going to say I was going to watch. It's actually trending. It's Ripley, and it's on Netflix. And I think it's shot all in black and white. And it's like on the trending list right now. Travelers. Does anybody watch that? That's also on my list. Okay, top 10 shows. Files of Unexplained. Number 2 is Parasite. I actually thought about watching that. Number 3 is Three Body Problem. I started that in Miami. I haven't finished it. Number 4 is Ripley, which is like quickly moved up. So I'm thinking about watching that. It's based on the Patricia Highsmith book, which she wrote The Talent of Mr. Ripley, which they made out of a movie. I think Matt Damon was in it. Do you guys remember that with Gwyneth Paltrow and all that? It was like a fantastic movie. And Patricia Highsmith has written a lot of books, so I think it's based on that. Let's see. Tom Ripley's life of petty crime in New York City detours with an offer to bring a wealthy man's wayward son home from Europe. How does Dakota Fanning in it? I was just thinking of her the other day because she was in that show, The Alienist, which I loved. The Testament, the story of Moses. The Vikings. Top 10 movies. The Little Things, Baby Driver, Glass, Space Jam, Happy Gilmore. You know, I don't think I've ever seen that movie all the way through. What is this? The Tearsmith, Skyscraper, Split, Mario Brothers, Mortal Engines. I haven't seen any of those movies, not one of them. On my continue watching, it's Three Body Problem. I'm on episode 2, so I gotta get into that, I guess. Alex loved it. He's like, I don't think, he goes, it doesn't really like end conclusively. He's like, I don't think it's a show that you would love. I was like, okay. And then Stay Close, I'm on episode 2, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that and Tell Me Who I Am. I started watching it, I could not get into it. School Spirits. Was that, I watched that, but I watched it before it was on Netflix. I watched it on like, oh, On the Line. That's a movie I want to watch too. So I need some new shows, if anybody has any recommendations. The problem is I've watched so many shows. Do you guys want to know? I have watched already this year. Are you ready? I keep a list of all this. 2024 watch TV shows. 51 shows so far. Do you guys want to hear what I've watched so far this year? Okay. Ultimate Girls Trip Roni Legacy. Natalia Speaks. Canada's Drag Race Season 4, Vanderpump Rules Season 4, The Golden Wedding, Dragula Season 5, Vanderpump Rules Season 5, American Nightmare, Vanderpump Rules Season 6, Below Deck Mediterranean Season 8, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Vanderpump Rules Season 7, 8, 9, and 10, Fool Me Once, Safe, 1,000-Pound Sister Season 5, The Stranger, The Tourist Season 1, Behind Her Eyes, A Murder at the End of the World, that was really good, La Brea, the season finale of all that, The Pike County Murders, The Truth About Jen, The Disappearance of Maura Murray, True Detective Night Country, The Disappearance of Crystal Rogers, The Jank, Southern Hospitality Season 2, Sophie, A Murder in West Cork. And these are only TV series. Like if it's a series, I put it on here. If it's not a series, I don't put it on here. If it's just like a documentary, I put it somewhere else. Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, Can I Tell You a Secret? The Devil You Know, Murder Among the Mormons, Missing Kinley, The Disappearance of Natalie Holloway, The Tourist Season 2, Till Murder Do Us Part, Traitor Season 2, Real Housewives of Miami, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Southern Gothic, Feud, Capote versus the Swans, Life and Beth Season 2, The Devil You Know Season 2, Fellow Travelers. Oh, that wasn't the show I was just asking about. I was asking about Travelers, I think it's called. Fellow Travelers, RuPaul Drag Race UK versus the World, The Bachelor, Apples Never Fall, Homicide New York, and Files of the Unexplained. And then the shows I have listed are Elsbeth, Palm Royale, Yellowstone, Fear the Walking Dead, and The Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead, I have like a season and a half left to finish. The Walking Dead, I have like 3 seasons. Yellowstone, I've never watched. Alex loves it. All of my friends love Yellowstone. Palm Royale, Elsbeth, and then I also want to watch that one. It's about the family. Oh, you guys know it. Jason Bateman's in it. Ozarks. Alex loves that show too. All my friends live Ozark and Yellowstone. Like, literally every single one of my friends. Do you guys watch Yellowstone? Are you obsessed? Like, I don't know if that's like... Is that just like a all-over thing, or is that like a Midwest thing? Like, all of my girlfriends are obsessed with Yellowstone. They're like, oh my god, those men are so sexy on there. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch this show. I watched it with Alex. Actually, we were watching some movie or some show, and the woman that plays Kevin Costner's daughter that has red hair, she's gorgeous, she was in something else that we were watching. So I don't know what that is. But anyway, so I don't know what show I'm gonna watch tonight. He'll probably want to watch American Horror Story Delicate. How many episodes are out of it? Well, I have to finish Night of the Comet. Okay, let's see. American Horror Story. Delicate. Oh, there's only one new episode out. Right? Yeah, the first new episode came out 4/3, and the next one comes out 4/10. I'm just so not into this series. I don't even know why they split it into two. It's just bad. American Horror Stories? Have I watched all seasons of those? Season 3? Have I watched those? Yeah, we watched those. So I don't know what I'm going to watch tonight. The Bachelor, it's over. People have been telling me to watch Shogun. Is that like the original like Shogun from back in the day? So yesterday I was going to answer some questions on my vlog, and here's my reading glasses. I was like, why am my eyes hurting? Because I don't have my reading glasses on. I said I was going to read some comments on my vlog, and I didn't get to that. So let's go through here. Past couple of days. Somebody said, also, I have to say, oh, she said Grey's is a commitment, but worth it. It's a lifestyle. Yeah, Grey's Anatomy is another show. I feel like this summer I want to have like a couple shows that I've got to trim my eyebrows. They're like, this one eyebrow hair is like coming down real low. I need to trim it. I feel like I want to have a couple shows that I'm like watching long haul. Like, I want to start, I've never watched Below Deck from the very beginning, the original, so that's one. Sister Wives, a couple of The Housewives, and then maybe like Grey's Anatomy or something. I feel like I need a really good drama to get into. Everybody that I said something about the other night, they were all like, with Grey's Anatomy, they were all like, oh, the first like 2 or 3 seasons are really good, but after that it gets like bad. I'm like, okay. Let's see. So she said, also I have to say I'm a CPA working 80-hour weeks during tax season right now. Oh my god, I feel for you. Listening to your videos in my AirPods when I can during the long days literally calms me down. As silly as that. Oh, it's so nice to know that I can help somebody during tax season. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to read names, but they said, I don't blame people for being mad about the dues increasing, and now you have 2 guys and a mower as the landscapers. Okay, so they warned us long before the dues increased. Last year, the dues did not increase. They usually increase them every year. So it had been like 2 years. I think maybe even 3 years since they had increased them. I don't remember what it was before. I mean, I could go back and look, but I don't remember what it was before. But it literally went up $13. So, well, I guess I could look and see. So it's $452 minus 13. It wasn't $439. Maybe it's 460. No, it's not 465 now. I don't remember what it was before, but whatever it was, it's gone up about $13. Okay, to be honest with you, I was kind of surprised that people were like thinking that this was astronomical. So here's the thing. When you live in a housing addition, a lot of people pay like an annual HOA for the neighborhood. Like my cousin Caroline lives in like a neighborhood, right? And she lives in like where they have an HOA, a homeowners association. That's different than the homeowners association that I live in a condo, okay? Condo homeowners associations, and I know whenever I explain this, people are like, no, you're wrong, you don't get it. I'm like, I live it, I get it, okay? Condo homeowners associations are completely different than like when you live in a home, unless it's specified that way. It's very much like if you, like in Florida, they live in buildings, okay? They pay HOAs, they pay And in that HOA is a lot of like what's included in their service. So in our HOA fees, it pays the management company. The management company is the one that does everything. They do the landscaping, they take care of the trees, they prune the trees, they do all the landscaping for the neighborhood. We don't, other than our walkway, we don't do anything. And the people wanted to do their walkways. They wanted to do their flowers and stuff, which is why that's in the bylaws. So there's a bylaws that's like this thick, okay? It has every rule of the neighborhood. It's everything from like, you can't have your own individual mailbox. Every mailbox matches in the neighborhood, right? You can only like have stuff 3 feet from your house. It's like all the bylaws, all the rules, right? But the HOA includes like the pool, the tennis court, snow removal. Like we have like, what do you call it? Police security that come around here. I mean, there's so many things that are included in this. Leaf removal, the landscape, and all this. It's all included in there. And it goes in, it's like the lake maintenance, because they have to do a lot. They stock the lakes with fish every year. They have to clean the lakes out. There's water fountains in the lake that they have to like keep maintained. I mean, there's like, so, because somebody said, I would like to know what goes into that. Well, actually like a year ago, and I think I did talk about it on here, they put a list out of like where, like they broke down your money of where each of it goes to, because like that's public information. They have to, not public information, but it's like information that they have to let us know in here. So they broke it down. A certain amount of what of the HOA fees every month is to have a surplus amount of money in case something catastrophic would happen to the neighborhood, and then they would have this money set aside. Like they had to do these like lake renewals several years ago, well 10 years ago or something like that, and then they didn't have the money for it, and so everybody had to do like pay a lake assessment fee, and it was like $1,200 a house on top of the HOA fees, just so they could fix the stonework around the brick. If you came into my neighborhood, the pool looks brand new, the tennis courts look brand new, the guardhouse looks brand new, the gate, the fence, everything looks brand new in here. And so that's part of it, is that they keep it up really, really nice, but they keep it also like a surplus in case something would happen down the road. So that's part of it, but not a huge part of it. I mean, they break it down. What's interesting, like talking to Caroline, who's a realtor, she's like, that the only thing that's different is like, so our condo, I mean, there's condos in here that are 5,000 square feet. Our condo is 1,200 square feet. It's the smallest unit, and there's like 4 of them, I think, in this neighborhood. On the other side over there, I don't know if I've ever shown you, there's actually freestanding like houses. That just like link by like one little thing. Like they look like freestanding houses, are just like, you know, linked. And they're like 5,000, there's like 4 in the neighborhood that are like 5,000 square feet. Most condo HOAs, you pay your HOA based on the square footage of your condo. So like, they would pay more because they had 5,000 square feet. We would pay less because we have 1,200 square feet. It's not that way in our neighborhood. Everybody pays the same fee. And then if you live outside of the neighborhood, but you're on the lake, because you have to pay for lake maintenance, you pay a reduced rate, and they're called category, they call themselves class 2, but like they don't like that, the people in here. They're like, no, it's not class, it's category. So they pay like a reduced rate of like, I think it's like $100 something or whatever, $110 or something, and they get to use the pools, the tennis courts, and everything like that. And then they also, but they don't get like their landscaping done and all that. When I'm talking to Caroline about it, Caroline's like, it's high for condos, but it's not super high. She's like, a lot of condos in Indianapolis. It's always interesting to me whenever I say it in a video and people are like, oh my God, that's like so incredibly high. It's kind of not, like, for Indiana. Like, when you look at HOA fees, like in places in Miami, because we've looked at condos down there, when you look at HOA fees, there are HOA fees that are like $1,200 a month. And yes, there's like hurricane insurance is wrapped into that and things like that, but not, they also recommend that you get that on the side as well, and then whatever. I mean, you pay huge fees for HOAs if you live in a condo. That's why, like, if, let's say, I mean, we don't have a mortgage payment anymore because we own our condo outright, but let's say if we had a mortgage payment, our mortgage payment was like $1,000 a month, right? If you're going to sell your condo and go look for somewhere else, you would look at a condo payment or a mortgage payment of like $1,450 because we're paying that a month. Because in a housing neighborhood, you wouldn't pay for an HOA except for like once a year, right? So your mortgage payment here isn't really like $1,000. It's $1,000 plus the HOA fee. Well, what surprised me when I talked to Caroline about it, I've talked to her a couple times about it, she's like her parents lived in condos that the maintenance was, I mean, it was beautiful area in there, but like it was not kept up. I mean, they had lakes and stuff, and it wasn't as nice as in here. And they were paying very similar HOA fees as us a month. So it's interesting to me when people are always like, it's not interesting to me because I don't think it's high. I think it's really high. I think $452 a month is a lot. But it's interesting to me when a lot of people in the comments are like, oh my God, I would never pay that. Well, first of all, you don't have an alternative. Okay, I mean, if you don't pay the HOA fee, you have to move out of the neighborhood. So it's not like you don't have a choice. And you know that before you purchase in here and things like that. What's crazy about it is, I don't know what is going on with the lighting on this camera. I feel like it is like so just like fade. Maybe it's the shirt color that I'm wearing or something. I just feel like it's so faded out the last couple days. But anyway, when my mom moved in here, I can't remember what it was. They actually, like, they put out not too long ago, like probably 6 months ago, like the HOA fees through the years. They don't call them HOA fees, first of all. They call them maintenance fees is what they call them. Because it's to maintain the neighborhood. But like anything that happens, like if somebody's tree falls down, the neighborhood pays for it. Like when our tree, we had a huge tree. When it fell down by lightning, like they bought us a new tree. They did not let us forget it either. You know, if anything happens in the neighborhood, they like fix it immediately and whatever, except for the wall, the brick wall. That took a while because they had to get an estimate and all that kind of stuff. So I'm telling you right now, this landscaping thing with these two men, unless like they do a fantastic job, you know, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they'll do a fantastic job. Who knows, right? But if they come in here and they are doing some crazy job for less when our HOA fees went up, and 5 to 10 years ago we were paying $100 less and getting great landscaping service in here, it's not even going to be about me, because I can tell you right now, the men that live in this neighborhood, the women don't seem to care as much because they care more about like the gardens and whatever, but a lot of the men do too. Actually, before, I can say this because he's passed away now, but before my neighbor across the street that's a master gardener lived there, it was so funny because she came in and she changed everything. And the guy that lived there before, I actually never saw his wife because his wife was always inside. And then she passed away, or she moved to, he had to finally move her to like an assisted living program. And then the only time he would come out and like get the mail and stuff and I would talk to him. I actually saw him at Costco like a month before he passed away. That was after he moved out. Really nice guy, but I found out that he was a professor of landscaping construction, or like landscaping construction or something, like at the Purdue University. Like he was like, I mean, he really like, he had these Japanese maple trees up there. She kept that one, but like everything else, these beautiful lamps. I mean, it was like, it was so subtle, but it was fantastically done. So like he was very concerned with like the landscaping and stuff like that. He was somebody that would like a lot, but a lot of those people have moved out. But now, yeah, a lot of people take huge issue with it. I mean, you should see our yard right now. It looks horrible. You know, they're coming supposedly tomorrow or Tuesday. But a lot of people have already like been like, no, we're getting a landscaping. They'll take care of it. Also, somebody, I don't know if I already read the comment, but they said something about the and you are right, you have to vote on an HOA president. She can't just assume the role unless your bylaws say something about it. It's so interesting in here about how serious they are about some things and so lax about other things. Like the woman that is the landscaping, you're only supposed to serve like a 2 or 4 year, I think it's a 2 year or 4 year service commitment. I almost said sentence, but she's been in the landscaping committee since, like, the landscaping manager since she's moved in here, because nobody wants to do it. And so that's kind of how it works. Like, they put out the voting, like, you get a paper and you vote and all kind of stuff, but, like, a lot of people don't want to do it. I don't think, like, they can hardly even keep my neighbor in the corner on there. She doesn't even want to do it anymore. So I think they're having, like, a lot of problems with people staying on there. I mean, it is a huge commitment. I mean, there's a lot you have to do. I joke about being the HOA president, but I don't know that I would really want everything that goes along with it. So there's a lot that goes along with it, right? And so I do kind of joke about it, but whatever. I think that's kind of what happened. They may have put out, like, they put so many emails out, you guys. We get so many emails about, I'm like, I'll say to Alex, did you read that email? He's like, yes, I got it. And they put so many emails out about stuff that's going on in the neighborhood, you know, like, oh, my granddaughter wants to have a lemonade stand. Does anybody care? Because they don't want to violate HOA, you know. Everybody emails back, no, we don't care. It's stuff, it's ridiculous, you know. And it's all because there's like 4 or 5 people in here that like really do care about stuff like that. And they'll be like, well, well, let's wait a second about this lemonade. Just like, let him have the lemonade stand. You know what I mean? It's just not that deep. I wouldn't even ask. I just let, if Carlitos and Sebastian wouldn't have a lemonade stand, I'd be like, I'd be like, I didn't know we were supposed to ask about it. My neighbors next door, their grandkids, they run all over the neighborhood. They don't care, you know? They're always like running after them with their bikes and they're chalking up the driveway. They don't care. I don't think you're supposed to do half that stuff. Nobody cares. You know, but there's like 4 or 5 people in the neighborhood that they really do care. They're like ate up with it. It's like okay, if you guys have seen, if you have seen the guy that like does the TikToks, he's hilarious. Apparently, somebody said he's from Indiana. I didn't realize that, but he like walks around the neighborhood like on his TikToks, and he's like, "Well, hi, Mary Ellen. Yep, saw that truck parked in the driveway for 3 weeks now. That's a violation." There's people in the neighborhood like that. Like that's true. That really does happen. But then the majority of that's just stand in the pool and bitch about it, you know. So it's real fun. But there is a way for her to become the president. What would happen is if he like stepped down like between the 2 elections, and then we didn't really have anybody to fill the spot, and she said, "I'll just fill the spot," you know, and then everybody would be like, okay, unless anybody bitched and complained about it, you know. Somebody said, "I'm watching Dead to Me, starring one of my favorites, Christina Applegate. I love it. Funny, sad, and thrilling." Alex loves that show so much. I've never watched it. Okay, let me go way down here to some of the other ones from like weeks, or no, the last week. Can't believe it's already planning season. Pretty soon, Fern will be back on her porch. Oh my God, I was just watering them this morning. I watered them as soon as I got back from our trip. I watered them like on Wednesday, and I watered them again today. I'm like, you guys are doing so well. I talked to them. I'm like, Fernalicious, you have done so well. You've just got like 3 more weeks. I don't want to put her out here too early, you know? Somebody said, "I'm still drinking the Barney's White Christmas coffee." I'm thinking about actually getting some more, but I will tell you, I am already halfway through that the IHOP pancake, buttery pancake coffee, so I'm gonna get some more of that, I think. So many people get me pillow recommendations. Thank you. I appreciate it. Somebody was talking about, like, I'm not trying to say names on here, but these are a lot of people that comment regularly about, talking about this My Pillow. There was like a whole discussion about it on here. And I'm like, I want to look into this My Pillow. I've never heard of this My Pillow before. Somebody said, oh, I was talking about the Christopher Pike books and the Lois Duncan books, and they said that they read the Sweet Valley High books. I never read those. I think I had like 1 or 2 of them, though. Somebody said, Peter, if you like the New York homicide, you should read Barbara Butcher's book. She's in the show. What the Dead Know. She is a death investigator in New York homicide. It's on Audible. We might actually read that. That might be a good suggestion for the True Crime Book Club, so thank you. I was talking about the book by Mira Grant that had to do with mermaids, and somebody said, Into the Drowning Deep. I read this earlier this year. I struggled with it. I struggled with it too. It was bad. It was really bad. That's why I never read the longer Mira Grant book. Okay. Somebody said I was on Hinge and your profile popped up. I had to report the profile. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I've never been on a dating site in my life. Never have been. Don't dog anybody on it. You know, do you? Plenty of Fish, Christian Mingle, you know, J-Date, Find a Farmer. I do you. Like, all you. But I've never been on a dating. If you ever see my picture on a dating app or any of that kind of stuff, and I'm not currently playing Words with Friends, although I have been thinking about starting it up again, so... If I do it now, people will be like, is this really you? So if you ever see me on any of them dating apps, it's not really me. You can report it. Somebody said, woke up from a bad dream and was struggling to get back to sleep. Okay, so I read this. This was 2 days ago. And I had woken up and I had the weirdest dream. And my mom was there. She didn't look good in the dream at all. I remember that. Like, her hair was, like, real short. It was, like, after her hair started growing back. After my mom's hair started growing back, after she had alopecia, it grew back, like, in, like, chunks. It was, and she was so embarrassed by it. And it was like that, and somebody was like, you and your mom should do a dance. And so all of a sudden they started playing Twist and Shout, which, look, I just bought on iTunes. They were like, you should dance to Twist and Shout, because my mom and I used to do this dance, and it was like, all of a sudden we were like in the middle of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was my dream. It was so weird. By the way, somebody suggested in the comment section that for the movies that we should, oh shoot, now I can't remember what that movie is called. We should watch Shag, okay? What is so funny about that is Shag was literally one of me and my girlfriend's favorite movies in high school. We tried to memorize that dance from that movie. If you've never seen the movie Shag, it's so fantastic. It's about 4 girls that go to Myrtle Beach for their spring break. I think they're in college, and it takes place in like the 50s, and like one falls in love. It's so good. It is really good. Somebody said it, like, compared it to Mystic Pizza. It's very, I think the one girl is from Mystic Pizza, is also in Mystic Pizza. Shag is such a fantastic movie. It's not on Tubi. I looked. When you said that, I was like, oh my god, that would be such a great movie to watch. So we might have to add Shag later, because I love that movie so much. That song from Shag is so good. Okay, let's see some more comments. Somebody said, Peter, don't take this the wrong way, but you are like the sober dad I never got. Oh, that makes me so happy. And I just needed to tell you that. Thank you. You are so sweet. Thank you so much. Yo, I am a genealogy detective of the world, and I'm here for you if you need. Reach out to me. I need to find out about my grandma. Yes, you and Caroline have to do the podcast. I don't know if she would never, probably. Where do I sign up to be on the investigation team of Grandma? I love that. The story needs to be told. I agree. I think it does. Oh, here it is. You need to watch Shogun. It's so good. Girl, I have been getting all of your DMs on the Instagram, by the way. I cannot keep up with the Instagrams. It must be all vloggerinos that are Instagramming me. The pool countdown is on. Girl, you know it is. I am so ready for the pool to be open. Aw, somebody said, Peter, you have no idea how much you helped me. That is so sweet. You guys are so sweet to me. Okay, somebody said, turbans are my go-to. Peter, to remove any stains, use a Mr. Clean Eraser. It takes coffee, tea stains. Those things do not work for me. I went on and on about this in a video the other day. Those magic erasers do not work for me. I'm so glad they work for you, but they do not work for me. Oh, this was the comment that I wanted to read. Somebody said, I think Caroline knows something that your moms didn't want people to know. Caroline doesn't know anything. Caroline doesn't even remember the stories, hardly. Okay, I can hardly, I'll, show her factual evidence, like the emails. She doesn't know, Caroline doesn't know anything, trust me, okay? If she did, she would share, she would tell me, because she could be embarrassed, she could care less. But then this person said, I want to suggest a very plausible theory about your guys' moms in Miami, but I don't want you to take offense. Listen, say it. Y'all think they were hookers, the happy hookers from Indianapolis? I'm open to anything. I can tell you right now, I know my mom, she wasn't a prude by any means, but she wasn't super sexual. She was not a hooker. I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if, I was telling Caroline this the other day, that I feel like Caroline, her interest level in it is just not like mine. Mine kind of comes and goes, but I almost kind of feel like it was something that, maybe it was mafioso, and they had to take the money and get out of town or something. They definitely knew more about it. The weird thing is, my mom, the fact that she, never in her entire, my entire life, I never knew. She would say things like, I always wanted to go to Miami and I never got to. She would say that to me, and I'd be like, it was so, you could knocked me over with a feather. I was so blown away when, I found out. So, it had, them going to Florida had to have been, them really, it had to have been for some reason. I don't know if they were, stashing stolen money down there, or I don't know what it was, but listen, you are not going to offend me, and if you feel like your comment's going to offend me, then just DM me or email me or something. I'd love to know what your a plausible theory is, because, and nothing's going to offend me. They're both gone, you could say whatever, they were the happy hookers from Indianapolis going to Miami. It's not going to offend me. You're not going to offend me. I think it's sweet, though, that you're even concerned about that, but thank you. But you can DM me or email me if you don't want to leave the comment, but I would love to know what your theory is. I'm totally open to any theories about my mom and my aunt being in Florida and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to know more about my grandma, where it is. Yeah. Okay, somebody asked, was this long before your dad and her were together? I'm sure if that was the case, you would have chatted with your dad about it. Super interesting. Caroline, how are you not interested? How? Okay, so Caroline and I found out, actually, that our grandma had gone to prison twice. I think my dad only knew of one time. I'm very confused. My dad was very, very protective, always, of my mom, even after they were separated and divorced, A, and B, definitely of my grandma. My grandma loved my dad. My dad was the last person my grandma saw before she passed away. She had gallbladder surgery and she passed away shortly after that. My grandma, my mom's mom, adored. She loved probably my dad and my Uncle Dave more than she loved her own daughters. No, true story, she did. But he would have been very, to this day, my dad would be very protective of my grandma. I think my dad knows a lot that he hasn't told me, or maybe he'd like, oh my God, have I gone that long? The camera stopped again. I think my dad probably knows more and just hasn't told me about it. He thinks, oh, it doesn't matter, Peter's never going to find out and whatever. I think there's probably more to the story. I think if anybody knows, I think my grandma would have told my dad, out of protecting my mom and my aunt. I think my Uncle Dave and my dad probably always knew. So what I found out in looking through it, when I asked my dad was the one that told me that my grandma went to prison. Because I said to him, did mom have any secrets before, you know, that she kept with her whole life? He's like, no, not really. Oh, this one thing. Before we got married, she told me that her mom had gone to prison. When I found out the dates, which I think I just found out like in the last 2 years, I can't remember, last 2 years, I found out that she would have been in prison or like in parole or on work release or something at the time that my parents would have got married. She's in the pictures of the wedding. So what that means is she would have been paroled right then. She would have got a pass. I don't know how any of that would have worked. I don't know. And I think she got sentenced to 5 years. So, and it was like around 1965. My parents got married, I believe, in 67 or 68. And so when I went back and I asked my dad, he acted very similar to the way that my Aunt Kathy did, my mom's sister, when I pushed her. He kind of was like, why are you pushing me on this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I must have got the dates wrong. Whatever. I don't remember. I feel like, you know, my dad, when he initially told me, what he said was, your mom and Kathy never wanted you and Caroline to know because they didn't want you to think badly of your grandma. I don't condone anything she did. She did the best that she knew how to do as a single mother, raising her 2 daughters. He was like, but I don't condone what she did, but I loved your grandma. And they never wanted you to think bad of grandma. I don't know what this whole mystery protectiveness is over keeping secrets. My dad is somebody that is really about somebody, this is going to sound so weird when I say this, but he's really about somebody's character, and I think he thought my grandma's character was fantastic. No matter, I mean, my dad is not somebody that would condone somebody stealing money. You know, he's not at all. My dad is a very morally ethical person. I don't know how he can look past it with my grandma, but somehow he can. And he thought she was a wonderful person. I think he knows that she was abused growing up. She was abused by her stepmother. She was abused by her, you know, second husband. She was abused all her life, you know. And I think my dad felt so bad for her, and he was very protective of her. And, you know, I think my dad and my uncle were basically paying her bills before she passed and things like that. I don't know, but I think my dad would go to any lengths to protect her reputation and her name in my eyes. And so I don't think that he really would tell me a whole lot. Even if he knew things, like specific things, I don't think he'd say, yeah, your grandma was working for the mob and she was embezzling money from this company and whatever. The weird thing is that my grandma went to prison as a bookkeeper for embezzlement and then got out of prison and became a bookkeeper again. So somebody was protecting her or giving her jobs because she retired as a bookkeeper. She worked for an athletic company here in town, an athletic company that, interestingly enough, had speculations that had weird ties. And then she worked from there. I remember going to her retirement party and everything. She retired from that company, you know? And so, you know, that to me is kind of weird that you go to prison as a bookkeeper, you know. And the other thing that's weird to me is my mom would always say to me, you know, grandma was so good at numbers and typing. That's how she became a bookkeeper and made such good money. My mom would always say to me, you always need to learn how to, like, be good at numbers I mean, it's just crazy to me, you know, like, I mean, my mom's telling me these stories, and it's like, but she completely just leaves out that grandma went to prison as a bookkeeper that was stealing money, a lot of money, you know, and other stories have come out that I haven't shared, because this is the thing, is I was contacted by several people, but they would get information wrong. So I'm saving some information in case anybody that reaches out to me can give me accurate information that I'm like, yes, like I know that, right? You know? It's like with psychics. Whenever I go to psychics, which I haven't been to one in a long time, I have like one special thing I've never said online, never said in a book, never said anywhere, that was like really special between my mom and I. And if my mom ever came to visit me through a spirit or through a psychic or whatever, you know, I know that she would say this one thing to me. And that's how, and I never said it. And I actually had it written down on a piece of paper in my pocket when we went to go see Teresa Caputo so I could prove it to Tanya. That's how I know, like nobody knows this thing. And so that's how I'll know if it's like a real psychic medium or not, if they say this one thing. So it's kind of the same thing with the story of my grandma. It's like, you know, anybody could be like, oh yeah, your grandma was in prison. I like want to know, like, it's so hard to find out anything. It's so hard to find out about the foster care system. All that stuff was like really tied up closely back then. Yeah, it's like this huge mystery. I would love to know a lot more about it, you know? I think I used to be more interested in about it because I thought that it would kind of like explain a lot about my childhood and how my mom was and how my aunt was and the way they behaved, and then how Caroline and I turned out as a result of that. I'm not so interested in that today. I'm more just fascinated by the story, because I do feel like there's a bigger story. I also have to say that I don't think that, let's say, whenever I first started looking into this, my aunt passed away 5 years ago, so 7, 8, 9 years ago. I don't know that when I first started looking into it, had somebody presented to me, your grandma, I think she had a relationship with somebody that was in the mob. That's what I think. I don't think I would have been open to hearing that. I don't think I was ready to hear that. So I don't know. You know, like today, I'm more fascinated by the story. The battery is dying. I have to stop right in the middle of this. I'm not gonna go in and get another battery because I need to relax a little bit. It's Sunday, and it's my favorite day of the week. Y'all know I love Sundays. So I'm gonna go inside and relax, take a little nap, put the vlog up, and get ready for the eclipse tomorrow. Oh my God. I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Sunday. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And real short outro because the battery's dying. I love you guys so much. If we survive through the eclipse, I will see you tomorrow after the eclipse. I love you so much, and be safe tomorrow wherever you're at. And if you're in the line of the eclipse, I hope that you enjoy it and be safe. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!